St Peter's Suffolk Gold gluten-free ale.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. Got one here today from the fantastic St Peter's Brewery, based in Suffolk, specifically in a place called Elam, which is near a place called Bungay. And they've been going since 1996. And I have to say, almost all the beers I've had from them have been really good. And I've been impressed by them. I've had their beer on keg, I've had their beer from a bottle, and I've had it from a cask as well. And it is good, believe me. They know what they're doing, and they also come from an area which is renowned for its malt, so that's probably got something to do with it as well. But needless to say, they're good. And they do a wide range of beers, and I picked this one up from Morrison's the other day. Actually, I hadn't seen it in Morrison's before, but they're doing it now, and it's the gluten-free beer, which I think is a fantastic idea. Gluten, if you've got a gluten intolerance, it's no laughing matter. My missus, I think, has got one. Whenever she eats white bread, she has all sorts of trouble, stomach trouble and all that, so it ain't good if you've got a gluten intolerance. I think they're called celiacs, people who've got gluten intolerances. But I quickly want to go over the brewery, but I want to go over the process that they use for gluten-free beer. And this isn't just St Peter's, this is all brewers who brew gluten-free beer, and it's becoming more and more popular actually. Recently I tried the Wadworth 6X, the gluten-free version, and to be honest, I couldn't tell the difference. It really didn't make a difference to the taste whatsoever. But that sort of stands to reason. I'll get onto it in a sec. This lot have been going since 1996. As I say, they're based in Suffolk and they do a wide range of beer. They always use locally sourced ingredients, specifically the malt, which is really good. It has a good reputation, and other brewers use malt from that region too. So they're onto a winner there. Of course, they are in the same neck of the woods as Green King. And to be honest, this lot don't even compare. They're in the same neck of the woods as Adnams as well. And I have to say, I think Adnams are a better brewer. But these ain't bad. Adnams really are an exceptional brewer. I will go as far as to say that. They're one of the best in Britain, in my opinion. This lot are really good though. They're a good solid brewer, and I like what they do. Okay, so that's that out of the way. Let me just get onto the gluten-free part. Now, how do you make gluten-free beer? Well, there is a specific threshold that is used to measure the amount of gluten, and it uses a term or a unit of measurement called parts per million. And the threshold for that is 20 parts per million. If you go below that level, you are entitled to call your beer gluten-free, and this is what they do. And they test it as well. It's tested in laboratories. They use a special technique to test the amount of gluten that's in beer. And as I say, if it's lower than 20 parts per million, you can call your beer gluten-free, which this has been. So how do you get beer to be gluten-free? Well, this is done in the brewing process, and it uses a trademarked ingredient called Brewer's Clarex. Now, this was actually discovered by mistake, or not by mistake, but it was a byproduct of what it did. Now, Brewer's Clarex was originally formulated to prevent haze in beer, notably chill haze. So what that means is you wouldn't need to go through the whole process of letting the beer settle. It basically accelerated the brewing process, and you got more out of your brew basically, so you wouldn't have to drain off all the haze and wait for it to settle and become clear. I think they used to use stuff called isinglass, which is fish bladder, but this Brewer's Clarex, this is what they're using now. But the added bonus of that is it also reduces the gluten content in beer as well. And brewers have found this out, and are now using that as a way of brewing gluten-free beer. And loads of brewers do it. As I mentioned, Wadworth are doing it, Brewdog and all the craft brewers definitely do it. And I think it's becoming more popular because more and more people are finding out that they have a gluten intolerance, and gluten's everywhere. It's certainly in beer. You know, if you're using ingredients like malt and barley and wheat especially, then you know you're going to encounter that. There are other ways of brewing or stuff to use like rye and rice even and all that, but it just creates a different flavoured beer. But that's by the by. So there's a little bit of a I've basically just scratched the surface. I really should do a whole video on how gluten-free beer is done because it's quite an interesting process, but I'm time limited here, so let's shut up and let's investigate what this beer is. Right, it's a 500ml bottle, quite a unique shaped bottle. That's based on I think it's an old gin bottle from America, that is, from Philadelphia, and they've used that as the design for it. It's quite a nice bottle, very ergonomic, I quite like it. And it's 500ml, it's 4.9%, 500ml, love that in bottles, known as 440 bollocks. It is a golden ale as far as I can tell, and it contains water, malted barley, hops and yeast. It doesn't mention the brewer's Clarex in there, so this is what I mean about the ingredients. In Sweden they actually do list all the ingredients. In the United Kingdom it's very sketchy, so there could be all sorts of adjuncts in here, but who knows. It's all about the taste. So let's get it open and let's see what's going on. One thing I didn't mention is the trademark or the logo on there. That is a raven. That is a tip of the hat to the Viking heritage of Suffolk, and the key is for the castle. There's a nearby castle in Suffolk, but I do like that raven on there. Look, there's a raven in a place called Waltham Abbey, which is where King Harold I is buried, and my missus got me I think it was a 50th birthday or Christmas present or something, to go and meet the raven there, and yeah, that was interesting. They're absolutely massive, and they've got massive personalities as well. They're probably the most intelligent bird out there. They actually make tools and they can count as well. So yeah, I should mention that this has got First Gold hops in it, which are very similar to Kent Goldings, and they're renowned for their spice as well. So there's going to be some bitterness on this. It does say it's got a bit of citrus on there as well, so not sure where that's coming from, but let's get it in the glass anyway. Now, as far as I can tell, it's a golden ale, and golden ales really are, they're the sketchiest style of British beer. They can be really good or they can be absolutely terrible, and to be honest, I think there's more bad ones out there than there is good ones, to be honest. But when you do get a good one, they are very good indeed. And to be honest, first sniff is very underwhelming. There it is in the glass, sort of an amber colour. It actually looks like Foster's, would you believe? We're getting on the nose. Oh, there's a little bit more there now, yeah. Some nice caramel malt. Almost crystal-like, crystal malt. There's that sweetness to it. Nice. Not much hop on there, hop character. It's mostly about the malt, which is unusual because in golden ales they tend to just try and make them a bit more citrusy for some reason. And to be honest, I'm really not a fan of golden ale. It really is hit and miss. But this doesn't smell too bad. The proof is in the tasting. So let's get it down the hatch. Bottoms up. Oh, that's quite nice. There is a lovely seam of caramel malt running through that, sweet caramel malt. I'm sure that there's some crystal malt in there, and that's really big. And again, and that is tribute to the malt that comes from Suffolk. It really has got a good reputation for producing good malts. And this malt is big, believe me. There's a nice bitterness to it on the end. Quite spicy actually, which is the first gold hops. And it works really well. I'm liking that. I really was, when I picked it up, I thought, golden ale. It ain't the greatest style, put it that way, in my opinion. I don't think, I know it's top fermented, and I know it's a legitimate style of British beer, but I think that was brought out to try and convert people over from lager to ale, and some brewers get it really badly wrong. But this is quite nice. It's lovely sweet caramel on that. And a touch of biscuit as well. There is biscuit malt on there. But then there's that dry, bitter finish. That's really nice. Really good. And this is one of the better golden ales, in my opinion. And I'm liking this. And I'm just looking, I've just noticed there is a slight haze on that as well. I don't know if you can see that or not. But the head is disappeared. But it is good, I have to say. Yeah, and it's just all about the malt on the aroma. I'm liking it. I really am. There's a very subtle citrus on that. And they did mention citrus on it, or was my eyes deceiving me? Hints of citrus. Yeah, it would be hints of citrus. There isn't much. You have to sort of concentrate to get them. But what is the description? Full-bodied, sweet, dry ale. Yeah, it is sweet. But it has got a bit of finish on it. I can't fucking read that. This premium beer, what have they called it that for? Premium beer. This premium beer is brewed with Suffolk malt to produce a full-bodied golden ale with hints of citrus. First gold hops provide the pleasing and lasting hop aroma and bitterness for this pleasantly sweet but dry beer. That's a reasonable description of it, actually. It is sweet. Now, the hop finish on it is quite bitter, but it balances perfectly with the sweetness on this. And I'm liking it. Sweet on the palate, bitter on the finish. A little bit of citrus in between. And that's it. That really is it. Very nice, very refreshing. If you drank this cold on a summer's day, that would be just the ticket. So what's the verdict on St Peter's Suffolk Gold? It is good. I do like that. It is a golden ale that, to be honest, when I picked it up, I really didn't have high hopes for it. And it surprised me, because they haven't done the usual trick of making the golden ale really, well, just not taste nice. And a lot of brewers do that, and it's not my go-to style of beer, it has to be said. Now don't get me wrong, there's some good brewers out there, but their golden ales sometimes leave them wanting, if you know what I mean. But St Peter's don't. They're really good. And they do another golden ale as well, which isn't gluten free. And I do remember that being quite nice as well. So St Peter's, they are good. I have to say, I've got no complaints about them whatsoever. As I say, I've tried all the other stuff. Well, not all the other stuff, but a lot of their other stuff. Ruby Ale, Plum Porter, which was really nice. I did like that. The Ruby Ale, and they did a winter ale, or was it winter warmer? Both of them were really good, and the best bitter, I do remember that. They did one called Stormtrooper. I don't know whether that was their foray into craft beer. It was fucking abysmal. I was a bit disappointed with St Peter's for doing that, because they really didn't need to. They should have just stuck to the traditional, because that's what they do best. And this Stormtrooper stuff, I've reviewed it on the channel if you want to have a look. It was fucking pony, to be honest. But I like this, and I'm going to give this, I'm toying with the idea of a solid 7.5, because Golden Ale isn't my sort of thing, but this is a pretty decent Golden Ale. So I think 7.5 is a fair mark. That's just a personal thing though, because as I say, Golden Ale, I'd rather have lager than Golden Ale. A good lager, I don't mean any fucking shit. I mean an half decent German Pilsner or Helles, preferably Bavarian, but yeah, anything decent compared to a British Golden Ale. I know that's not being too loyal to English brewers, but sorry, your Golden Ale just isn't that great. But there you go. So yeah, I think 7.5, a solid 7.5. Considering the price as well, that is a bargain, in my opinion. You get this for 180 something, I think it is, 185 possibly, in Morrison's. Well worth checking out. Morrison's have just got a shitload of new beer in. But there you go, 7.5 out of 10, recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.